Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I figured we can do something a little bit different and pretty fun. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So what I have planned, I'm going to be reviewing almost all of my Nintendo 64 games, but I'm not going to be reviewing it in the present day. We're actually going to go back about 17 years to when I was about 12 years old in probably 1999 when I wrote this. Guide to my N64 games. So yes, this is actually something I put together way back in the day where I typed this out on my computer in this horrible, horrible font, where I went through and I reviewed, at the time, all the Nintendo 64 games that I owned. And I remember I felt inspired. If you guys remember those books where it would be like a movie critic book where it's like hundreds and thousands of movie reviews that have like a quick little blurb and like the review score where they kind of tell you what it's about, if it's good, whatever. I wanted to try and replicate that with my Nintendo 64 games, and believe it or not, I think this is the very first time I ever had some sort of recorded record of games that I tried to review. So this is exclusive. This is the first PeteDorr reviews that ever existed. So keep in mind, I was very young when I wrote these, so some of the stuff in here, the spelling, you know, the way I write it out is not the best. And let me tell you, I'm a very tough critic back in the day. You're going to be really surprised at some of the things I say and some of the scores that I give to some games that are, well, I think I'm kind of crazy back then. I don't know what I was thinking. So what do you say we start with the first game, and how I break it down, if you can see here, I start with the game, is it fun, the graphics, and then the final rating. So you can kind of see my format there. So the first game on the list is South Park. Here's what I had to say about it. Is it a fun game? Oh, and lastly, before I start, all the games that I have on this list I still own. I still have the original copies, and almost every one of them has the original box and manual, except South Park. I don't know what happened to the box and manual for that. It did not survive. Fun game. It is a fun game to play on multiplayer for a little bit, but one player gets boring after a while. The multiplayer was fantastic in South Park. The graphics are okay, not that great, but it's a cartoon, so you can't expect much, I guess. And I rated it a 5 out of 10. The next game is Doom 64. Oh, I used to love this one. Let's see what I had to say about it. Fun game. It is very hard and not easy for young kids. The graphics are great when you're viewing something from far away distance, but when you are close to something, you can see the block graphics very well. Jeez, I guess I'm talking about like the bad textures. I rated Doom 64. A 6 out of 10. All right, next up is Glover. Ooh, one of my all-time favorites. Let's see what I had to say about this classic platforming game. Is it fun? It is a copy of Banjo Kazooie and Mario 64. It is just like it, only harder and stupider. Well, I don't know if I would have used the word stupider today. Final rating, 3 out of 10. Next up, Wave Race 64, a classic. Hopefully I'm not too harsh on this one. Is it a fun game? It's a fun game when you play on multiplayer with 4 people, but one player, it's not as fun. The graphics are outstanding. They are very good. The water in the game makes it look realistic. Ooh, I totally agree with that. Water in this game is awesome. Final rating, 6 out of 10. This game deserved at least an 8 out of 10. I don't know what I was thinking. Now, I was always a big fan of Star Wars, so let's see what I had to say about Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. It is fun and hard, but it doesn't really seem like a Star Wars game. Should the main character is some guy never seen in the movies? I guess I didn't read the books back then. The graphics are great and real-time looks. Sorry, the font is really difficult to read. I don't know why I chose this font. Final rating, 6 out of 10. All right, now we've got a classic, Banjo Kazooie. Apparently, this is what Glover 64 was aspiring to be like, so let's see what I had to say. It is a copy of Mario 64, but the environment surroundings are much better. The graphics are much better than Mario 64's. There is more detail. Final rating, 7 out of 10. All right, well, there's no way I can be too harsh on this next game. Super Mario 64, which I consider today to still be one of the best games ever made. One of my favorite games, absolutely my favorite game on the Nintendo 64. The best 3D platformer that was ever made. You know, all these, I love Mario 64. So this is what I thought back in 1999. Super Mario 64, is it a fun game? Yes, if you like Donkey Kong, Zelda, Banjo, and Glover, you're sure to like this one. Graphics are 3D, but not much detail. Not much texturing, I guess. I thought there was. And they weren't bad. Final rating, 7 out of 10. Seven out of 10, Mario 64. All right, next is Donkey Kong 64. And I actually don't count this game as having the box because, look, my box has no flaps on it. But anyway, for presentation purposes, it is one of the biggest games ever. There is more to find and do than in Zelda 64. This game is too big. You can see the graphics are okay, but the environment graphics are outstanding. 9 out of 10. I love this game, apparently, when I was younger. What do you say we find out what I thought of sports games such as Ken Griffey Jr. Major League Baseball? Is it a fun game? Yes, it is a lot of fun to play a friend. The graphics are great. It's like you're really there. 7 out of 10. Short, concise. I actually enjoyed this game when I was younger. All right, let's find out what I thought of War Gods. No, it's just another one of those boring fighting games. I guess I didn't really care for fighting games too much back then either. The graphics are great, but that doesn't help if the game is poor. 2 out of 10. I believe this may be the lowest rated game in here. Now, considering what I thought of Donkey Kong 64, let's find out what I thought about Zelda, since I compared Donkey Kong to Zelda. Is it fun? Yes, it is a masterpiece that will keep you in your seat to find out what happens. And there is so much to do and see. The graphics are the best I have ever seen. Everywhere you go is great real-time environments. I love that. I guess I must have read real-time somewhere in some magazine because I apparently like saying that. 9 out of 10. Hey, at least I got this one correct. All right, now it's time to find out what I thought of Diddy Kong Racing, which today I actually believe that I like this game better than Mario Kart 64. So let's see if my ratings matched up with what I think today. We'll keep this rating in mind for when I get to Mario 64. Diddy Kong Racing, is it fun? Yes, it is not like any other racing game. It's sort of like an adventure racing fantasy. Wow, that's like a quote for the back of the box. The graphics are outstanding. It's really cool in multiplayer. 8 out of 10. All right, now this one, you have to take my review seriously because I remember I invested a lot of time into this game. I think I actually beat it, which was no short task. This was quite a long game to beat by yourself. And that's Rampage World Tour. It's an easy game and very fun to play on 3-player. That it is, actually. The graphics are very good. It looks like a 1D game. Oh no, sorry, the graphics are very poor. I actually spelt it. No, yeah, the graphics are very poor. It's like a 1D game, a 4 out of 10. 1D. I have no idea. All right, time for another first-person shooter. Let's see how harsh I was on Hexen. It is a copy of Doom, but it is very fun to play on 4-player. The graphics are just like Doom's, only a little worser. 5 out of 10. Man, poor Hexen. I actually used to be a pretty big fan of wrestling back in the day, and I remember liking this game a lot, so let's see what I thought. It's a fun game if you're a big wrestling fan. The graphics look real. Final rating, 7 out of 10. Short and concise. Once again, the sports games, I didn't have much to say about them, apparently. All right, next up, Yoshi's Story. Is it a fun game? No, it is way too easy to beat the game. The graphics are poor, it's 2D. I didn't even rate the game. I didn't even give Yoshi's Story a rating. Like, it's not even like 0 out of 10. There's just no rating. I just forgot to rate Yoshi. I don't even know what I was... What? No, it's... Well, I guess back then, you know, the transition to N64 3D was the big thing, so I can kind of see that. But they weren't poor graphics. Man, I even, like, put together a little handmade book for this game. I loved it so much. I was like, man, was I a harsh critic. All right, next up is one of the best racing games that I had played back in the day on N64, and that's MRC Racing. It is another one of those play it here and there racing games. The graphics are good, but the game is poor. Final rating, 5 out of 10. I enjoyed this game. Well, everybody's favorite multiplayer classic, Mario Party. How will this one survive my grueling reviews? Is it fun? Yes, it is fun to play on multiplayer with friends. Well, I could have saw that one coming. Graphics are a little over 2D. I guess I didn't know the term for like, sort of like top-down isometric in a way, which Mario Party, I don't know what I was trying to say there. Final rating, 7 out of 10. One of my personal favorites, Snowboard Kids. I love this game back in the day. Everything about it, the music, the graphics, the gameplay, it was just so fun. Is it a fun game? Yes, if you like snowboarding and fighting at the same time, you're sure to like this game, because you could do combat sort of with the power-ups during, well, yeah. Graphics are great and very colorful, but some things look really 2D. I mean, really bad. I guess I mean the things that weren't rendered in 3D. They were sort of just like poorly blown up sprites in the background. Final rating, 6 out of 10. God, I would give this game at least like an 8.59 these days. All right, here's a classic. Hopefully I made the right decision with this one. Goldeneye 64. Fun game, yes, it is a great shoot 'em up game. It's fun in multiplayer. I loved multiplayer on N64, if you couldn't tell. And the graphics are very realistic. 8 out of 10. Apparently I thought this was a better game than Mario 64 at the time. Now, I remember really loving this one, so I can't imagine myself giving this anything less than an 8 out of 10, but knowing me, I probably gave it a 7. So let's see what I thought of Bomberman 64. Fun game, yes, it's an awesome game in multiplayer, but it's hard to learn and play the game. Graphics are a little over 2D, sort of like the isometric thing, I guess. Final rating, 7 out of 10. I saw that one coming. All right, so here is the true comparison. Remember I gave Diddy Kong Racing an 8 out of 10? Let's find out what I thought of Mario Kart 64. This is the true test, to see if even back in the day I thought Diddy Kong was the better game. Mario Kart 64, is it a fun game? Yes, it is a fun game on multiplayer, and a cool thing about it, it's a Mario racing game. Get that, people? Graphics are okay because some of the things in the game, like trees or background stuff, I guess because some things in the background were not 3D. I guess I was like really looking for 3D stuff back then. Final rating, 8 out of 10. So it was a tie. Well, at least it wasn't like a 6 out of 10. Well, we all know what I thought of War Gods. Let's find out what I thought of Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Fun game? It's just another Mortal Kombat game. It's the same as the others. Well, I guess I can see that. Graphics are just like the others. 4 out of 10. All right, we're down to the final 2 games that are reviewed in my N64 guide. Gex 64, Enter the Gecko. I remember liking this one, so I think I probably gave this a fairly high rating. Gex 64, it is a fun game if you like adventure and challenge. Graphics are like Banjo Kazooie. I liked comparing the platformers to one another, if you couldn't tell. Final rating, 7 out of 10. See, I really enjoyed this game back then, and I want to revisit it now to see if I think it's still just as good. Alrighty, we've got one more classic left on our hands, but judging by some of my reviews, let's see if Star Fox 64 survives the gauntlet. It is a very fun flying adventure game. The graphics are great. I didn't see any dull stuff in the game. Final rating, 4 out of, no, I'm just kidding, 8 out of 10. Anyway, guys, there you have it. That is the conclusion to my guide to my N64 games that I wrote way back in the day. So if you enjoyed that, let me know, because I actually, not long after this, when I started using the internet a lot, I used to write a ton of reviews for GameRankings.com back in the day for like a lot of PS2 era games. I wrote dozens and dozens of reviews, and you know, they're a little bit more in depth. So if you really enjoyed this, I can definitely go back onto what is it, the Wayback Machine online and kind of bring up those old reviews and read some of those for you guys, because I think that would be a lot of fun. So if you want to see some of that in the future, please let me know down below. Do you agree with some of my reviews? Do you agree with my 7 out of 10 for Mario 64? Please let me know. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.